Bradley booted, and tonight Jaguars fans say it's about time.
I think they should have been fired, or maybe we would have won more games by now.
Moments before he was fired, Bradley reiterated Blake Bortles is their guy.
Blake's our quarterback, and he has the opportunity to get better here these last couple games and improve.
Tonight, we look at who could be the next head coach and what you're saying on News4Jax.com. And just minutes ago, we've learned Gus Bradley is at Everbank Field, but it's unclear exactly what he's doing there. Tomorrow, we'll know who will be the interim head coach for the remaining 2 games of the season. General Manager Dave Caldwell will make the announcement at 2 p.m. The plane carrying Gus Bradley and the Jaguars landed at JAX within the past hour. Some of the players have been tweeting their reactions tonight. We have multiple crews covering the firing of Gus Bradley and what's next for the team. But we begin tonight with Sports Director Sam Kouvaris with how all of this played out today. Sam.
Ethan, what's interesting is that in Shad Khan's statement today, which was literally put out while Gus was walking or was on the bus to the airport with the rest of his coaches. So it must have been kind of an awkward bus ride. And, somebody tweeted to me tonight, why not, if they're going to make this move, why not do it after they land in Jacksonville? The guy has been such a kind of a class act for everything that he wanted to do. But it apparently happened then, as they were walking to the bus, that he was informed that it wasn't going to happen, and that he wasn't going to be here. It is interesting that in this particular statement, Shad Khan has said that General Manager Dave Caldwell will not only name the interim, but he will also begin the search. So as we have talked about for a long time, it appears that Caldwell is still going to be the decision maker on the football side for the Jaguars. The question is, where he will go with this, and it's one of the things we'll discuss here coming up in the next hour. Apparently, it was such a gut-wrenching loss that it appeared that General Manager Dave Caldwell, as well as the owner of the Jaguars, and that's Shad Khan, had had enough, and they decided that they would go ahead and make this move at this point. Bradley, who, as Ethan said, is currently at the stadium, no doubt he normally goes there, actually, no doubt is now cleaning out his office and thinking about the next phase that he'll have in his life as well. But this particular day was such a gut-wrenching loss that it appeared that Caldwell and Khan had seen enough, and it's a reaction that many fans had as early as last year. But Khan sees changing coaches in season as an organizational weakness. But with a lead and a win in their grasp, the Jaguars couldn't finish either on offense or defense and fell to the Texans for the 6th straight time.
Gus Bradley continues to try and build his culture here in Jacksonville.
In a span of about 30 minutes, Gus Bradley's tenure as the Jaguars head coach went from secured to the end of the year to relieved of his duties on his way to the bus. After meeting with the team, Bradley had his normal press conference with the media in the bowels of the stadium in Houston, dissecting the Jaguars season and today's 21-20 loss to the Texans.
Because Blake's our quarterback, and he has the opportunity to get better here these last couple games and improve. And, it's important for him. It's important for our team to finish strongly now these last 2 games. And that's the message. And we need everybody.
With a 20-8 lead, it appeared the Jaguars would win their 3rd game of the year and beat the Texans after losing 5 straight to their AFC South rival. But a lack of production on offense kept the Jaguars' defense on the field toward the end of the 4th quarter, and Houston took their first lead of the game.
Miller takes the handoff, and Miller's in. Touchdown, Texans!
As has been all year, Blake Bortles couldn't muster a comeback, failing on 2 possessions to put the Jaguars into field goal range, ending their hopes with his 16th interception of the year. It left the Jaguars losing 9 straight and 12 this year, and convinced Jaguars general manager Dave Caldwell and owner Shad Khan, who was in London, that now is the time to make a move. Gus also represented the Jaguars, the Jacksonville community, and the NFL in nothing less than a first-class manner as our head coach, Khan said in a statement released as the Jaguars drove to the Houston airport. That counts for a lot. It is unfortunately evident that we must make a change. I thought it would be best to do it immediately after today's result so Gus can step away, relax, and regroup with his family during the Christmas and holiday season. No doubt it was a bit of an awkward bus and plane ride with Bradley and his staff knowing he was leaving, but the assistants still charged with breaking down the game and beginning to work on the Tennessee Titans in just 5 days. You may remember that Gus Bradley did sign an extension last year through 2017, which means he will be paid the full amount once he gets another job. And Gus, an excellent football coach, will get another job in the NFL the next year. The Jaguars will have to augment his salary up to the amount that he was scheduled to make, about $4.5 million in 2017. Dave Caldwell's announcement is tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon at the stadium as to who the interim head coach is going to be, and no doubt he will answer questions about which direction he'll go looking for the next head coach. Ethan?
And Sam, something everybody's wondering here, any ideas on who could take Gus Bradley's place at this point?
You know, I think there are a lot of names. There's going to be tons of names out there, and some of them aren't even going to be available until coming up in January 2nd, obviously, because when January 2nd happens, that's when it's often called Black Monday, because that's when a lot of coaches are fired, and some of those guys just need a change of scenery. Now, let's look at some of the names real quick. Tom Coughlin, obviously, is one of those names that jumps off the page immediately, a guy that many people talked about as perhaps a long-term president of the club instead of a coach. Coughlin was the Jaguars coach, the Giants coach. He's got 2 Super Bowl victories. He's currently working for the National Football League. The question is whether Tom, at 70 years old, wants to come back and be on the sideline, whether he wants to delay his eligibility for the Hall of Fame, which is only 5 years after you retire. So if he went back to the sidelines, that would move that to probably when he was 78 or 80 years old. But Coughlin certainly is the kind of coach, it appears, that the Jaguars need, that sort of disciplinarian. Another guy to take a look at, how about Mike Smith? From the Jaguars to the Falcons as the head coach, and now in Tampa Bay as the assistant head coach and the defensive coordinator. I can tell you one thing about Mike Smith. He will either soar to the top of the list or be eliminated immediately, because Dave Caldwell worked for Thomas Dimitroff, and Dimitroff fired Mike Smith as the head coach in Atlanta. So Dave's going to say, hey, is this the right guy? And if he says, look, he just needed a change of scenery and his message wasn't working here anymore, then yeah, Smith will go to the top of the list. Or Dimitroff may say, don't hire that guy, and he'll be eliminated immediately. Great guy, very, very, very popular in Jacksonville. Another guy to take a look at, this has kind of come out in the last couple of days, that Sean Payton and the Saints are kind of getting a divorce here, and at some point, Payton's going to be available, maybe for a draft pick. He's the head coach of the Saints, former quarterback. He's been the coach of the year. He won a Super Bowl. And he also is from that Bill Parcells coaching tree where he was the offensive coordinator for the Giants. So this is a guy that it's a very intriguing kind of idea for him, I think, in the Jaguars. And the last guy we'll talk about has already been talked about for the last couple of weeks, and that's Josh McDaniels. He's currently the offensive coordinator for the Patriots. He was the head coach in Denver, and he was the youngest head coach at that point. What's interesting about him is that he was well hated in Denver. People did not like him, and they didn't respect him, and that's one of the reasons they lost his job so quickly.